Let me get that up. None of my things are loading. I'll let you know when I have it, okay?
Yeah.
Opening. Security risk? What the heck? Sorry. Okay, I'll just get a timer and then I'm good.
Enter.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Strong. You're good.
I'm getting the timer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Affairs going to war, Impact Wars, and After Pasha and Civil Leader 2. If I need some Pakistan for Saber, case of Pakistan worker terrorism in your courtesy, Pakistan take the world down with us versus Pakistan against India, Pakistan social. Controlling for India, Pakistan indicating intention to cooperate, army led by religious fanatics or control, potentially lead to unpredictability. The two just to check modernization, shredded, fire breaks, harmonizing CNC, and putting preemption on the table of coverage. Ready states three situations, rational use is warranted, lead to have values, aims that are unfilial. Ready states drop preemptive, posture, double on child, fibers, nuclear, professional, and then assets and cyber safety, news, compromise, early warning, states pressure to employ, news preemptively concerned regarding entanglement, militaries, armor with the nuclear, professional, shredded, cannot be certain given the stakes by headline. News on warning. Pakistani to double deploying guarantees rapid isolation, the spiral copies Fascini. Provide Gatos and also Pakistan and India, Pakistan first use strategy for the Hakaloon security. Every serious understand red lines, mystery support, risk Pakistan sent advice to be. MK's targets here double secret secondary crisis troops using civilian infrared possibilities, non-military, is there nuclear, efficacy, manipulative reaction, critical crisis, defending stability, but to call for isolation, states serving leadership, making a state direct conflict, and overseas, technology, and double terms, or against seizing news, relation, government unrivaled info, hostile convince, survive over the mere possession of nuclear weapons, inculcates use, but or if India, Pakistan, vertical nuclear conflict, and hateful history, and curriculum, Pakistan, Iran, nuclear deployment, and conflict, Israel, social habit, accident, human error, practice, beautiful, data, simple, presidents, in check, controversy, never be ruled out, no matter what seen, needs to values, unacceptable, even orders is too large. State funded deterrence, cyber tax, insurance, solution, individually motivated, to respond quickly to India, when factual insurance license should be attacked directly to Pakistan, state response reflect ongoing struggle, India, support, sort of approach, medical cross border strikes, cyber warfare, interdisciplinary complexity, line side, was interpreted as aggression, endurance, and another, direction deep sea, and the stars of political officer, concern to see, and is heavily instability, military challenging, for India, border chiefs making India first strike at the nuclear and likely criminals, ready to the Pakistan to send to disorders, years growing crowds, surrounding resources, to over character, was between the two radicals, Samsi, so to Pakistan, Petrograd, as long as it's close and desertion, rather pressure, is good to cargo war, 19 military group, so we're sure that I listen 3 decades, inclusive of the idea, Pakistan, go first, able to solve it, not conventional, but can feel first to start, Pakistan, if it's news, the surfaces, foreign security commander, national security advisor, first across the law, across the attack against Pakistan, it's guaranteed, rough 25 minutes, unique effects, like that, I call super somewhat cross, I say words, that's made other situations, sits on which the best defense, that's the position, equal about the Islamic Republic of Pakistan is a moral standards depending situation, in outweighs the global and universal, and then a foot for all moon, so human source, outweighs source, and then subject justice, universal, next such a day, bet you collapse. Pakistan's two classes level, massive debt and structural issues that Pakistan's history, intervention, and rights to 20 IMF intervention, and physical horseshoe courtesy, one thing to build house to debt, or 9% GNI budget to be at least hand flows to be repaid next 4 years. Pakistan will service $100 billion structural failures, no credit card revenue, tax system, tax to GDP ratio for lines, operations of levy system, cannibals, consumer asset to pass and ability to collect, or defense side report to 5% of budget, military resources, unsustainable starving investment, education, health, and for demographic cops, catastrophe, register with mathematics, impossible by 2050, Pakistan, third most populous nation, advanced services, second upper high, 40% poverty, education, catastrophic, third are absolute. I'm doing the tourism is extremely lucky and are estimated by academics driven. Vertical industry use of W's racial ideology, financial issues, prevention, CG, illicit reaction, access to markets, reduce scientist possession, material success, intensive use, get safer, conserve nuclear material, increase risk, naturally, include test, attach, touch, religion, RDs, ideas, terror, there are simple under respected to constraints public, in fact, giving undervalue the possibility of these sustain against factors, price, example, on stage 2001, and thrust, Japan's offshore income, contestation, time state that is a hypothesis, has no terror, test, great positive distribution, color, or the accuracy of the late state ecology, and your spot false with large social consequences, mutual serve, defense, and touch, during their country facilities, such obstacles, over in test, while behind receiving a single new in his or Osman's body, and conventional actions to nuclear war. Extrajudicial use is guaranteed. Attacks on facilities to ties between insiders and Turkish and decentralized CNC to prove what factors over security box on use internal rogue actors in the army and threats of all rogue complex conversion insider threats or individual access to security to other agents and actors attacks on radicalization Pakistan nuclear community insiders underestimating to potential radicalization groups incentive ties between military and jihadist group foster threats attacks on websites social issues deficiency nuclear to make it to the dominant CNC weapons center control middle of command pattern radicalized military collaborative jihadist group individual ship nuclear establishment undermines effectiveness use on CNC deploying kill doubles here India's sense unique inevitability is voted by inside hearing catch ideological alignment between military jihadist structural ties and goals to flip sustainable loyalty conflicts and factors cause of political crisis and civil unrest Hussein everything Pakistan to bring flooding political dysfunction inflation terror with crisis and political economic war state Georgia's goods lead to crisis law Taliban hit the gov directly three risk intersect activated political and security wars there creation society water reserve but drone bear now for weeks of energy pay for bidding for LNG economic impact basic these current policies threats of the elite in the without population political instability we can see make costs more difficult to govern economy has introduced many bill of poverty increased food insecurity catalyzed anger research terror for Islamist ethnic militants Balochistan food shocks has nuclear war punished 20 food crisis initiate instability increase the risk of conflict shocks and severe consequences instability dangerous country dumping weapons setup and agreement has to use of maliciously Pakistan food security have severe consequences catastrophic risk increasing likelihood of nuclear war state cost starts to rogue actors to access and use nukes to 125 there's a Pakistani nukes that target terrorists attaching years been large stages relations to nuclear news fires by nuclear material recruit scientists work with actors of Pakistan use urban top uncustom nuclear burst eyesight elements to pathetic Islamic groups accused of involvement in assassination has brainwashed fanatics when hesitates to nuclear attack over Islam material diversity attacks attack nearby facility causing panic ambush and control have news of nuclear CNC movement danger now preceding peace ready for contributing accident about security mobile units away from fixed use to hold interest or unit battle could be local commanding piece of weapon Afghan Taliban takeover terrorists in Pakistan Pacific 21 Taliban takeover Afghanistan inclination Pakistan boot for Pakistan jihadist field recruitment funding and increased violent activities Afghanistan and Pakistani Taliban share linkage strides of sharing military ties so the Taliban's assured secret first years of jihadi pullback externally possession examples of political blame over terrorist attacks and stats over 6 to retaliation city 44 non-state actions into state global repercussions South Asia translate scaling time was immediate threat to pieces non-state actors that's for potential conflict over Christianity as this result the United States remains Pakistan is said TTP terrorists funded by India plays Pakistan harboring non-state actors Germany and Christianity threatening computer attacks will occur and redefine deterrence relationship.
Okay. Cool. Then I will start. Nuclear terror warrants.
Like the warrants why it occurs.
Yeah.
Sure. The Javed card says that there's a wide range of motives for it to occur. For example, religious ideology, the desire to get revenge on other countries, desire for casualties.
I guess my question wasn't motives; it was means. What possibilities are there for nuclear terror to happen?
Material. They could
steal nuclear material. Okay.
They could also steal the nukes themselves.
Steal the nukes themselves.
Them,
okay.
launch them intentionally.
Sure. Anything else?
Yeah, sure. The Chapu card also says insiders are
insiders.
Yeah, the ones who.
So why didn't those insiders give terrorist groups nukes in the past 30 years?
Because our Basit evidence says that Taliban was uniquely strengthened now, which is strengthening terrorists in Pakistan.
You read a piece of evidence, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's about like Osama meeting with like some of these
Bin Laden
Pakistani.
wasn't that allied with Pakistan.
Okay, no, you have a card that says he met with a Pakistani nuclear scientist and his
he met with the
acquisition.
scientist. He didn't have people in the government.
What card do you think says the Pakistani government supports this behavior?
The Chapu card.
Okay, I don't know what one that is. Which
That's
one
the one
is
tagged extrajudicial uses.
where do you think it says that?
Sure. It says, quote, insider threats, individuals with access exploit security, seal, or any external actors and hacks documented radicalization. In Pakistan's nuclear community, insiders are underestimated due to lack of attention.
Insider threats, all right. Sure. I want to talk a little bit about the existential threats that you said that nuclear terror explicates in your Counterplan evidence.
Yeah.
Which ones are those?
I just read the first Counterplan card,
Okay.
not the second.
You didn't read the second one?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Let me pull up that first one. Is that the one paragraph one?
Yeah.
Okay. Warrant in that card?
It would draw in other great powers once a nuke is used on a state. We also think the Javed card above indicates that use of a WMD would elicit reactions from other countries.
Okay, WMD reaction, so that's a use internal link. Indo-Pak war seems to pop up in Kashmir every couple of years. There's been like skirmishes every year for a while. I'm wondering, why did those conflicts not escalate, but this next one will?
The TOI card says it's different right now because India has a more populist government that's directly accused of
I mean,
Pakistan.
hasn't Modi been in power for like 7 years?
He had less power before.
He had less power before, okay.
Yeah. There's also a lot of other warrants. For example, Pakistan developed TNWs recently.
TNWs? When did Pakistan acquire TNWs?
Pretty recently. I don't think
recently.
the card says an exact date, but I believe it was relatively recently.
Relatively
And
recently.
it's a linear impact too. Like there have been 4 wars between India and Pakistan. The most
Okay.
recent one was, I believe, 2019, which is just like one example of a war that happened after they got nuclear weapons. And that one was dangerously close to crossing the threshold
Okay.
of nuclear use. as well.
Taliban card seems to say that Pakistan blames India for training the TTP. Where do you think it says the TTP can take over the country?
Well, we haven't made the claim that the TTP takes over
You read
Pakistan.
Pakistani Taliban takeover. That's a tag of the second to last card on the advantage. No?
No. So like,
Okay, so they don't
Afghanistan
take
was
over.
taken over by the Taliban, which is now
Okay,
strengthening.
so Pakistan will not
towards
take
Pakistan,
over.
though.
Okay, sure. I'll send the doc. It's gonna be. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
It's gonna be 4 off. Contention 1, contention 2. The doc was sent. Let me know when you guys have it.
I just got it. Let me open it up.
I haven't gotten it. I'll let you know.
Do you have it?
I just got it. Let me open it. Something. Okay, I'm good.
First off, topicality, the means all. Ceres 3. Nice language suggesting it's only some energy needing to be recycled where the would not have been used. The connotes all is persuasive because it's ordinary and common sense. The reference a group as a whole. Prefer 1 limits. There are 13,000 bombs across all locations, 9 countries, and various purposes. Limits matter because it's decided straight on negability prep. Engages in substantive manner. 2. Ground. Every bomb has a distinct purpose which zaps unifying links to neg arguments. 3. Defense. Picks lose the theory because judges will be lenient when they see their own teams are struggling uniformly. 4. Uniformity from cheating deficits keeps things fine, and staleness is only impact if the neg has a chance. 4. Predictability. Even if the denotes specification is already specified by the possession of nuclear weapons by the resolution. 5. Competing terms. Reasonability is arbitrary. Scope of limits makes them unreasonable, and there's no bright line, so it's arbitrary, which next like fairness. Next off. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan should limit its possession of nuclear warheads to the sole purpose of deterring other actors as achieving artificial superintelligence. Recursive development of ASI now causes extinction. Dissets to Counterplan are non-unique, but it's also enforcing multilat. Hendricks and Coach 25. No superpower passive while rivals transform and lead into geopolitical advantage. Capable nations would threaten to sabotage. Any project impulse could be reduced into deterrence. MAIM state with super weapons, overwhelmingly powerful. Develop super weapons, give it stunning battlefield advantages. Undermine nuclear deterrence, allowing to obliterate rivals and seize power. Would field new breakthroughs quickly to completely dominate rivals. Cannot trust rivals, won't use ASI. Nations view rival imminent threat to continued existence. Intelligence recursion most plausible path to dominance. Frontier AI companies planning for recursion temporary lead prolate into terrible advantage. Possible path of losing control, not a good track record. Of less intelligent things controlling greater. Threatening to sabotage a rival's ASI to maintain balance, proportionate, justifiable response to political norms. Adapt to strategic realities. Recommends escalation ladders, formalizing ties, concrete interests, clarify red lines, immediate retaliation, MAIM preemption, analogous to ongoing preemption of Iran's nuclear development. Forestall destabilizing ASI development. Artificial superintelligence guaranteed misaligned extinction. Miller 23. ASI endangered necessities. Render Earth uninhabitable. Orthogonality. No link between intelligence and goals. ASI annihilate humanity. Agents desire to gather resources. ASI acquire humans. Minor task lead to catastrophe. ASI may restructure the solar system. Race ASI jeopardize humanity's self-interest. Prop research. Even if ASI poses a risk. Gov influences ASI. Invest in military. King Lear problem cannot tell between aligned and pretending agents. ASI trustworthy. Surpassed capabilities. Recent breakthrough showed alignment harder than previously believed. Next off. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan should, 1. Substantially increase measures to dismantle conventional and nuclear command and control architecture and propose the Republic of India does the same. 2. Suggest to the Republic of India the creation of a direct hotline between the two nations' foreign secretaries. 3. Adopt a binding no first use posture while requesting a bilateral no first use treaty with the Republic of India. 4. Substantially expand counter-terror intelligence sharing with the United States, Republic of India, and the People's Republic of China. 5. Cease its sponsorship of terrorist groups' provocations against the Republic of India. And 6. Increase protection of its nuclear facilities. Planks 1 and 2 solve the fire breaks and CNC internal links. So does the status quo. India's open negotiation. Con 45. Make Congress to push India and Pakistan to pursue measures to reduce catastrophe should separate CNC structures for conventional nuclear forces to ensure forces under nuclear commands not used for conventional purposes. Vice versa, Pakistan's AFRC step in this separated employment of conventional missiles from nuclear delivery. India mimic risk of misperception, misguided clear communication important hotline between each director general during 2025 shows both are open communication in heat of conflict. Could activate similar hotline between foreign secretaries. Implement of dual use does not necessarily trigger inadvertent escalation. Dangers lowered by institutionalizing risk reduction, minimizing escalation. Bilateral NFU solves TNWs and miscalc. Goshal 16. India's NFU kept depth threshold high in South Asia. Pakistan's first use with TNWs lowered considerably. Bilateral treaty could bolster strategic stability. New Delhi's doctrine holds nuclear weapons can only deter. Bilateral treaty would make TNWs less relevant, reduce chance for miscalc. Plank 4, 5, and 6 obviously solved. That's their author's recommendation. Even that's vague. It's their internal links from counter-terror experts. Insert 1AC to V25 in yellow because it's from their cutting. Next off. Pakistan's nuclear umbrella over Saudi Arabia is necessary to deter Israel and solves the case, otherwise extinction. It redefines Middle Eastern conflict as the U.S. has become less credible and prevents China drawing while capping conflict with India. Benessa 26. India proceeds with approaches destabilizing, however, absence of disputes, importance of economic and political ties makes deterioration unlikely, could contribute to stabilizing Indo-Pakistani relations given economic interdependence, extension of nuclear umbrella, alter strategic balance with Israel, reflects a shift, broader geopolitical dynamic marked by China's growing military cooperation, expected to transform regional actors beyond alliance, constitutes normative act that redefine frameworks of trust, balance, and power in the Middle East. Direct consequence of Israel's strike against Qatar marked by intensifying anarchy, weakening of traditional security mechanisms. Role the U.S. has gradually eroded representative shift in an already fragile Middle Eastern landscape, ends Israel's virtual monopoly on nuclear capabilities, redefinition of strategic balance, consolidate position. It's explicitly a nuclear umbrella, but Asada 26 at time agreement signed role of nuclear weapons remained in Vegas. How the uncertainty was quickly dispelled when Pakistani Defense Minister Asif stated that Saudi Arabia would benefit from Pakistan's nuclear umbrella under the agreement. Any aggression against both Saudi officials described encompassing all available capabilities. Pakistani credibility is key to immediate expanded Iran conflict. They're the only party with connection to both. Jamal 26. Pakistan emerged one of few still talking about Iran and Saudi Arabia while both are on the brink of direct war. Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and General made repeated visits, parallel diplomatic efforts to press the Iranian leadership to avoid action. Pakistan multiply its diplomatic efforts to avert a direct crisis, has to shield itself from being dragged into war out of its making, must dissuade Iran from actions from both Saudi Arabia or GCC members. Iran war goes nuclear and draws in the U.S., United Nations. 26. Military strikes by on Iran and Iran's counterattacks threaten to ignite a wider war in the Middle East. Iran's delegate countered that the attacks on his country are a war crime. Iran will exercise its right of self-defense, regards all basic facilities and assets of hostile forces legitimate military exercises in direct talks between Iran and Washington, D.C. Opportunity of diplomacy has been squandered. Military action risks events that no one can control. The United States and Israeli regime had explicitly articulated regime change as their objective, yet during negotiations, the United States betrayed diplomacy. The aggression satisfies none of the criteria of lawful self and so it will direct its response exclusively at the United States bases and assets. The Arab-Israeli conflict expanded full-scale regional war. Iran's unprovoked military attack on several Arab states threatened to widen the scope of the conflict. Iran has still not abandoned its nuclear weapons program. Its relations with plunges the entire region into an uncontrollable cycle of violence, suffering, and pain. Case. Every card in this contention either bad or concludes neg. 1. TOI's warrants are just quoting Indian political leaders and government sources, or worse, anonymous ones, who have an incentive to bash Pakistan due to rivalry. Insert 1AC TOI 25 for reference. 2. CNC internal link is about the tripolar nuclear age between Russia, China, and the US. It doesn't even mention India or Pakistan. It's about Israeli first strike. Insert 1AC Krepetich 26. 3. TNWs is done by having them since 2011 and fighting 4 or 5 times since. 4. Their evidence right next to their highlighting says every country in the world would team up if one is used, which caps escalation. Insert 1AC Bikini 25. 5. There's no conceivable world where this best loss can be their argument. One error will answer this with small risk is still risk, but all the warrants mean so small it's outweighed by just about anything. Insert 1AC this plus 25. 6. Their cyber card says target operations allows softer, more precise conventional attacks, which caps miscalc and other countries check. Insert 1AC so group to 25. 7. Border disputes card is Spec fiction talking about a hypothetical 2030 escalation scenario based on things that haven't happened. Insert 1AC Krepetich 26. We'll read defense escalations cap about 25. Nuclear weapons created maybe deliberately developed. Reminder can't take too far. Secrecy means unclear if can survive. First strike stops opponent from attempting to first strike border fire prompted tough position. Both launch operations aimed at embarrassing foreign leaders to respond, raise alarm. Strikes from retaliation are late or early away from dense populated centers. Neither has desire to harm the other population. Surgical and limited. Advantage 2. That's as inevitable, no impact, and Pakistan's PNRA solves it now. The real concern is RDGs, not nuclear threat, which they read no impact evidence about. Mumtaz 26. According to IEA report 4,390 incidents reported, the PNRA stands as model with unblemished track record in safety, security, regulation, safeguard nuclear material against sabotage and unauthorized removal, aligns with NIAEA standards, demonstrates, conforms to standards, comprehensive oversight, clear vision by protecting regulatory declaration, deeply integrated with international norms, trade over 25,000 specialists, meet global benchmarks, threat of radiological terrorism is more realistic than nuclear terrorism. Incidents the UK, Australia, and the US Pakistan strategy, nationwide shield against illicit trafficking, conducts inspection yearly, no great power impacted, answer system CARM 2 because higher thresholds imply lower likelihood, insert 1AC Cowanborn, and no state collapse mission 25, percentage 3.3 billion from the IMF under the BAL program, Islam will receive loans, Thomas separate to cut key interest by 50 points. That card is marked at 50 points.
Okay, good.
Let me mark the card physically. It's the very last card.
Yeah, 50 points. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Status all done.
Status quo logical option.
Okay, plank. Okay, plank 1 of the counterplan.
Yeah.
Proposes Republic of India. Where in the con card does it say India would agree?
Sure. I think that the con card says, quote, both sides are open to communication even in the heat of conflict. I think that broadly, a lot of the 1AC cards also probably argue that the reason that India might act more aggressively is because of Pakistan's first use commitments and lack of communication, which is kind of what your like terror, blame gaming, internal links are all about.
Okay, let's talk about the SMDA or the
the fourth off.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to click there on my computer. Okay. Saudi Arabia, it has other allies like the U.S. Where your evidence
U.S.
is
does not.
Pakistan is key.
Sure. So the difference is the U.S. does not explicitly have Saudi Arabia under its nuclear umbrella. We have like some troops there, but we haven't like explicitly extended deterrence to them, whereas Pakistan has. That's the Bonacina evidence. It says that uniquely changes the game because the reason the U.S. wouldn't support Saudi Arabia nuclearly is because of its relationship with Israel. The Biswa evidence, or the Benissa evidence
Jamal card says that the reason.
Sorry.
Wait. Okay. So your impact evidence seems to be about why military strikes on Iran by the U.S. and by Israel and the U.S. ignites a wider.
Yeah, we have two impacts.
So what are they?
The first impact is Israel provocations with Gulf Cooperation Council states and Saudi Arabia. So that's one internal link. The second is the third card we read says that Pakistan is key to de-escalate the Iran war because they're the only country that is allies with both of the main regional partners in that conflict.
They're allied with Israel?
No, I'm saying Saudi Arabia.
I'm
talking about the land front of that war.
Okay, wait, but if strikes continue through Israel, how does Pakistan solve those?
We think that Pakistan can incent Iranian aggression by threatening to de-incentivize Iranian aggression by threatening to involve itself in the conflict. We think that our evidence indicates that the first card we read indicates that it changes the balance of power in the Middle East by adding another nuclear power to the equation. So we think that Iran will cap what it does because if they continue to aggress Israel and not sue for peace, then Pakistan will protect Saudi Arabia.
Nuclear powers in the Middle East, just Israel. How does it go nuclear?
Sure.
Like worst case, like
Israel scenario is one of the internal links. The second one about Iran, the U.S. is currently involved in the conflict. We think that we've also read evidence. Sure. Who else? China.
Wait, China would get into a nuclear what interest does China?
The Benissa evidence says that China's growing military cooperation is expected to transform regional
cooperation.
Actors.
Why would so it has some
military cooperation? I think that indicates a broader alignment interest. We think that there's other warrants for why things like oil, for instance, is important to China's economy. And then I think that the United Nations evidence indicates that Russia and China are both interested in protecting Iran.
Okay. Are we doing 4 or 5?
5.
Okay.
Are you taking some prep?
Yeah.
Okay.
order is going to be advantage 1, advantage 2, the T subsets, MAIM, advantage counterplan, then the disapp.
Okay. I'll tell you when I have it.
Okay, I sent it.
Okay, I haven't got it yet, man.
Okay, I just got it.
I'll open this up. I have you at contention 1, 2, subsets, MAIM, contention counterplan, or Ron DA.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll open the doc and then I am good. Let's make sure there's tags on it, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, good job. Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Sure.
Yep, good to go.
Okay. Advantage 1 kick, advantage 2, yes, they collapse, uniqueness, reset crisis, pressure to the rank, they have no reserves, and millions don't have basic needs to start instability that's sustained structural factors. Pakistan is massive debt, which means stimulus can prevent lead capture, crushing, a bunch of feelings guaranteed downfall. That's right, collapse, independently causes loose news, and makes their start. Enough will drop, lack of funding, and eroding governments will force Pakistan to abandon nuclear sites, leaving them open for grabs. Yes, here, uniqueness, help take over the Buff Afghanistan, bullshit Pakistani streams, which could have deals that specific radicalized insiders with access will soon nukes or air terrorists, empirics, and internal moments prove capacity, facilities that weaken pro to attack structural issues, and take cost and terrorist success, double controls, decentralized, powerful commanders, are vulnerable to influence such as Blue and PhD from Peninsula, with decades of concerns to counter terror, goes nuclear insurgency, launch nukes as the only targets, sparking retaliations as events, so future to launching nukes to flies or deepfakes as counter and deal with blame Pakistan for sponsor attacks, just like nuclear response has to deframing issue risks are underestimated because of lack of info, and recent such event theft and notable, citing an IAEA report which has incentive to lie to increase their credibility. It's about vision, which doesn't seem insiders, and it's not unblemished because there have been passing years success at theft. Plus, doesn't seem hacking training specialists are jihadists, which means they have incentive to give it to terrorists. New Concord, the Concord card they read is just they don't have motives, which doesn't seem Pakistan specific evidence. Either way, drop even 2% of nukes costs stages, so even using Pakistan's arsenal alone costs us 8 stages. Yes, data, he's a research fellow. The IMF can't do anything in proof that shut. Their rate cuts example is temporary, don't see long-term trends. Also, marked too early, they only got to the IMF warrant. Also, to seem non-econ warrants, which they fully dropped. He subs the country, asking defense outside the also supersede. Credit use article releases the individual go process, which is possible to be funds. So, definite article uses suicide by Affirm. Text special agreement that to turn today. I agree, but after as for the balance, there's just seem it being accountable now, unlike their example of magnetizing energy. One ground goal, which is from last advocates and gives an I've got and picks out one new to those limits since all apps become fixed. You find like you were to overloading one after TOC topic interest, the base that we're next week. Functional limits and heresy, lit checks I've seen enough for a whole case and T is most of the 9 countries they get shirts and P shirt returns to shirts of policy to check all after the develop the plan to their interprets preserve substance and grant similar sanity DAs for checking the theme is arbitrary. May. Do build sole purpose complex or voting issue that can fiat in sole purpose or world peace, which doesn't lacks it. It makes it too easy for that. They get deterrence and all functional limits listed above. Reject countries in Georgia. They have no IR calls and are introduced. Speculating about other countries writing on blood. No reason why it solves. Pakistan would then maintain its. And the terrorists could still steal the nuclear weapons and would incentivize other countries to first strike because they perceive Pakistan as being more escalatory, which causes other countries to withdraw. And the conflict can't solve it has no benefit for everyone. But if I may challenge it like it sense of when moving right to MAIM, it seems will know exactly development, no spring consist compel case, you start to the ILFC, you solve racing towards the intelligent, incredible manager, arrival at option full over MAIM gives some only right to sue securities at their first MAIM China, which development underground reducing inside once crucial vulnerability in place for civil using rising strength to the development paranoid hair sugar balance of the terrorist strike AI Mr. Turner as opening Roger had no reason Pakistan sufficient to trade, it has mathematically impossible. Profession, something in problems across the future, algorithm, face barriers, unreachable to nature, computation, mathematical possibilities, system, find out with the connection, when perfectly real to say, give a lacking matter, operational principle, just your carbon construction, open up, early computer, with no optimal path, the battery, this algorithm, the curve path, data, and no skill and training, overcome, as we are approaching limits of algorithms, advanced complex condoms, voting, issue, research, and research, encourage logical trends, testing, and education, say, advantage, strategy with that, response office staff needs to restart on fridges, and needs to be research, will be defense, cross-by functional limits, just as well, can be doing straight turn, they get everything, but need to incur cost, research, always sounds good, it's only portable impact for school and work, first we can't solve terror because mere presence of nukes mere presence of nukes is not by stealing. Fourth, Blake can't solve counter doesn't mean they'll let the US China etc. into their territory. Insiders mean they'll be circumvented because they'll tell terrorists about the programs. 5 can't solve structure just assume Taliban or individual actors taking over after state top 6 no explanation what increasing safety is rejecting it sooner. It's not to see just as neutral our answers means it interpret in the worst possible ways. SMDA DA state collapse guarantees the DA because the economic crisis and collapsing government shared Saudi infrastructure of Pakistan is robbed the ally cause losing which prevents assurance nukes get stolen that was above conventional versus 12 white perfect conservative individual profit in the conventional domain, Pakistan benefits the nation for society, companies managed through exercise access and advisory rules. Their card citing Pakistan defense ministers relying Vegas means you are uncertain if it's actually, if the nuclear defense is actually Syria, normally means that they give the nukes to Saudi, which allows other Saudi allies, the US, UK, France, also, and have larger nuclear arsenals. The impact card cites Iran settlements, which have been said to lie. China stuff by oil being high later. It's about some military crop, not something go nuclear over. Past Saxon Angel and October 7th, it won't escalate. 3 times Robin held that the Moscow Innovation Office where Russia's sister aircraft is selling for Ukraine government still negotiate watching Middle East or Japan as China for private guarantees Ukraine of oil packs on hurricanes or presidency without major escalation. Mark Gabuev at major escalation only escalation only card ever.
What's that card?
Gabuev, Middle East War 1 escalate.
Middle East War 1 escalate, and it was marked where?
Escalation.
Did you mark any of the AI cards?
Let me check, but I don't think so.
I thought you might have.
No, I didn't mark.
Sorry, where's escalation?
The
Wait.
sentence has it has the word major before it, so you can just command F major.
Major escalation.
They aren't like right next to each other.
Okay.
Major's just
Beijing's priority. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Cool. 5 minutes starting now. Was there some sort of weird a priori argument on T?
Yeah.
What was it?
Affirm means steadfast agreement with.
Okay. Was that a definition you read?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Only voting issues were condo and sole purpose bad, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, you read no nuclear entanglement or you didn't read that, right?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, cool. The order is going to be the, we'll do Iran, and then, so Iran, and then I'll do T, and then I'll do cyber MAIM, advantage counterplan, war terror.
I'm good.
Jared, are you good?
Give me one second, actually. Good to go.
Okay. The dissent outweighs Pakistan's nuclear umbrella forced the quote redefinition of frameworks of trust in the Middle East that structurally prevents all conflict by escalating, by adding another nuclear power to the equation, by breaking Israel's monopoly on nukes in the status quo. The Iran impact simply must outweigh. Drop that Pakistan's nukes are necessary pressure to coerce Iran into playing nice under the threat of Pakistan being drawn into conflict because of its goal to protect Saudi Arabia. One Air One, state collapse does not turn it. They explicitly said terrorists didn't take over in cross-ex, so I'm not sure what this argument is. At best, they get to economic collapse, but there's no reason that turns our scenario. The counterplan planks will extend, and the Medicare defense on case answers this. At worst, if the impact is inevitable, you know it's more inevitable in the world of the app because the link controls the direction of it, which means that Pakistan having an economy that is collapsed is still somewhat able to deter, which is proven by things like how nuclear deterrence held during the 2008 financial crisis and COVID. But Pakistan losing the nukes and collapsing would still mean that it would be even worse, which would magnify the impact. Nukes getting stolen is zeroed by the counterplan blanks will extend, so this begs the question of the rest of the debate because they're just cross-playing the case. Conventional deterrence does not solve. This card is 2 sentences long. It just says the role will expand over time, but abandoning the nuclear component kills the whole point. They obviously had an alliance before, but the reason that the NDCA is different is because it adds another nuclear power to the Middle East, and Pakistan would no longer be a nuclear power in the world of plan. Being from the Pakistani defense minister, it's a pro-dite, not an indite. Pakistani defense minister, if you can't trust him, you can't trust anything. You should. This would mean this would also indict the whole app too, because it's a series of political speculations. Obviously, Pakistan wants to support it, and we've shown that Pakistan is engaging in negotiations now, which proves that they want to honor their agreements. Normal means being to give it to Saudi is unworkable. Reject this interp, even if it is one way the plan can be done. It is certainly not the way the plan can be done. The 1AC said disarmament was good and that we need to take it away. Normal means requires evidence. Also, or neg on this question to reject late-breaking debates. If this interp would be true, which they have no evidence on, and you should strike it for being an awful analytical argument, then it would mean you should vote neg on presumption, because in the process of transferring the nukes to terrorists would just take it then. Impact card being about Iran not incentive to lie. Not sure what this argument is, but it certainly wasn't warranted. The argument about Israel and October 7th is not Israel. October 7th is not the same, because that was Israel being attacked by Hamas, not Israel engaging in strikes. They dropped that the Qatar and Saudi Arabia strikes that Israel did earlier last year prove an incentive. They dropped Israel as unconstrained by the U.S. now, which is a link differential between October 7th that did not exist before, and it isn't about Israeli-Saudi aggression against Saudi Arabia. Now that answers the thumpers. Now the won't escalate card that they read at the bottom about the won't escalate card that they read at the bottom is relevant because the won't escalate card that they read at the bottom doesn't assume China's increasing entanglement in the business. Saying that Beijing and Moscow won't help Iran doesn't mean they won't help broadly because they have incentives for oil. Our evidence is the only one that says they're increasing cooperation. This card is mainly about Russia, and the only thing about China that it says is that China never provided guarantees, but that doesn't assume our internal link about their oil. Nonetheless, the U.S. is sufficient because they've dropped it's necessary to stop Iranian aggression against the U.S., which is a dropped internal link claim, and then you know the U.S. will use first because of Trump's erraticism. T. Affirm is not on your ballot, so you shouldn't vote on it. Auto-win arguments are a reason to reject the team. It incentivizes hiding hidden cheap shots that kill substance. This must be a voting issue to deter this from ever being done again, because this is obviously stupid. Man. Not going for this. Concede HEI is not possible. Sole purpose is a reason to reject the argument, not the team. There's no reason it skewed any other sheet. The other argument, they're going to cross-apply this, but that wouldn't apply to that, because that would justify skewing every flow by saying the neg should auto-lose every debate. Return to substance, they don't have a reason that it's reject the team, so you shouldn't default to that. You should have the punishment for the crime by getting rid of that. Advantage counterplan? Conditionality, counterterp, we get what we did. The net benefit is negative flexibility. Frame this through uniqueness. You know that app teams will always know their apps better than the neg can ever hope to, which is magnified by our subsets arguments. Even if there are 9 apps, which is what they tried to sell you there, you know that the app will always be able to over-prepare, which means that we are impact turning Dispo because Dispo lets them pick R2 and R rather than allowing us to pick R2 and R. That is a bad thing. No-cost options are good because it encourages us to try new things, which link turns their research impact. The no-risk option component is good. Their argument about encouraging research is too idyllic to do for every team. If there's different nuclear states, and there's also weapon systems apps, which their interpretation would allow. It is untenable for the neg, which means the neg never tries new things, and we stay limited and never incentivize us, the neg, to trust new arguments because the app could always just decide that we are arbitrarily stuck with them. Forcing a restart is not true because they could just have intrinsic internal links, which forces better app writing and link turns their research offense. Preventing research, not sure what this argument is. Functional limits don't apply because NFU, they can just get out of it with miscalculations and errors, which means we need more planks to solve the intrinsic reasons why nuclear weapons could be bad in the first place. Whatever arguments they said about shift all rely on larger apps and also rely on counterplans, plans to get out of all the things that are wrong with the world, like populists, etc., which they pointed out on T as well. Dispo not solving, it doesn't solve our offense because it's arbitrary and undefined. They said if we don't straight turn, which proves this argument, because it is completely unconventional, the idea of Dispo. But nonetheless, this obviously would still, our argument is no cost options are a good thing because it encourages the neg to try new things and keeps us in the game when the AF has infinite prep to fake their perfect 1AC. Don't vote on this argument because it was a blip, and you know that theory is late breaking and favors them because it gets line below in everything we say. Advantage counterplan. We're going to extend we're going to extend plank 1, which is to disentangle command and control and non-nuclear forces. Then we're going to extend the creation of a hotline between Indian and Pakistani secretaries. That obviously would solve the terror internal link as well, because it would mean India would never respond in the first place, because India would know that Pakistan is saying, hey guys, this is not us launching nukes at you, which means that it would be less likely that India would retaliate, which would prevent the internal link from happening in the first place. We're also going to extend counterplan planks 4, 5, and 6. They don't get answers to this because it's their card. Saying 5 doesn't solve because of individual actors. Not sure what this argument is, but 5 certainly solved because they would cease all sponsorship of terror. This argument would equally cut against the case because I mean, individual people in Pakistan that are part of the government would do it. We get to fiat public actors, which is sufficient to solve it. If they cease sponsorship of terror, that takes out giving it to them internal link. Increased protection of facilities plank obviously solves. This is what their author says we should do. War advantage. They've dropped Israel will first strike, which is a rehighlighting of their Sherpanov or whatever evidence. 26. I'll send that on the card doc if it's necessary, but they dropped it. It was a rehighlighting. We said it in the tag. None of their evidence about Taliban takeover assumes the counterplan. Our evidence is much better. It says Pakistan's facilities are great, and from 2026, their evidence is old. The counterplan evidence is their author and says it doesn't matter because it would require too much sophistication, and that current terrorist groups do not have access, which is dropped argument. IEAA has no incentive to lie because they are an independent organization, and Callenborn says there's not just, even if they win motives, there's no means, and the counterplan certainly mitigates it, which means case outweighs. Case that outweighs.
Okay, advantage, or deter advantage. There's no deter advantage, T subsets, advantage counterplan, SMD, or actually deter advantage, war advantage, T subsets, advantage counterplan, SMDA.
Before you do that, can I restart my word entirely because I can't steal prep. I don't have another speech, but my verbatim thing isn't working anymore. And I was trying to get cards for card doc. Just need to close out of all my tabs.
Oh, while you do that, can I get the order?
Yeah, terror advantage, war advantage, T, advantage counterplan, SMDA.
Okay, let me see if this is working now.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
Wait for me, alright.
Okay, it's working again. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had that fixed before the 2 hour. I'm just gonna set a timer. It's terror advantage, war advantage, subsets, counterplan, DA.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm good.
Sure. The one I spent a minute on the case for good reason dropped that Pakistan state will collapse now if we win the CC claim that interacts with every part of the decide. You should understand the world of the status quo is Pakistan government ceasing to exist means it can't do any of the counterplan, means it can't maintain any nuclear facilities. Terrorists have free reign to steal whatever news they want and do whatever they want with them, which includes using nuclear weapons against any state on earth, which only constitution they shot that only 2% is sufficient constitution, which is the threshold of Pakistan's arsenal meets and did not do turns case analysis, which means our impact is 100%. Impact is low. It also weighs on probability drop. State collapse is structurally inevitable when in some mitigation to the terminal impact of their decide later, and our evidence is simply better than theirs because we're citing PhDs and peer-reviewed journals, whereas they have no game on the state collapse after they decide to drop the state collapse inevitable. Pakistan's economy is collapsing right now because of high debt, GDP ratios, and low growth, which is a structural factor of Pakistan's society, which no IMF interventions have succeeded, which is that which they drop and makes disarm inevitable. A lack of funding and erosion means there's literally no nuclear facilities left. There's nothing that Pakistan can do to safeguard its facilities because the state just ceases to exist. Given that the tutor dropped this union test claim, you should grant me any leeway I want in the tutor because they just didn't answer something I spent 20 seconds on in the one I guest here who's here in PhD reviewed the answer. One internally didn't answer, the other two. One TW controls decentralized, which means the tourists get easy access to those, and those are the most dangerous because they can be used instantly. Two facilities are weak right now, which means that the counterplan alone cannot solve because it's impossible to revamp all those facilities, and Taliban takeover makes the uniqueness definitively apt because it means they can take over those facilities right now. The counterplan takes far too long and would cease to exist the moment Pakistan state collapse. There's no incentives which relevant because you drop the Pakistanis are jihadists and have incentive to organizations like Al Qaeda, TTP, etc. all name dropping once the evidence come board. Ensuring not applicable facilities are strong right now because we have issues with the uniqueness advantage. One did understand what this impact was, didn't weigh between the absent area, it's low, and held by other countries like Iran. Now, drop the argument on the Affirm thing, key to substance, counter read Affirm, key to encourage following, which is portable, enables you to arguments which keep us in the game, no turn prove out people winning on Kato, advantage, but none of the planes they extended are justified because he dropped it. The tuner is not the 2NC, they don't get new explanation of planes 1 through 3, CNC doesn't solve state collapse, nor is our scenario about India, it's about Pakistan terrorists nuking any country on planet Earth, and obviously countries would respond if they're responding with a literal nuclear weapon and be detonated at them. Other way, other countries like Israel, other countries in the Middle East, which Pakistani terrorists could use them on. Certainly still cause escalation, which means these can't solve. We do get answers playing 4, 5, and 6 because they miscut Javed. Individual actors not good for insider snares, so that's irrelevant. C sponsorship irrelevant because other organizations like Turk Taliban, which is from Afghanistan, or Al Qaeda, which is a non-state actor in and of itself, still exists. Facilities don't solve their extension was a tagline, extension just assumed low growth and Pakistan's structural factors, which means it literally does not have the funding to maintain those facilities. Either way, if win state collapse, it means Pakistan can't durably maintain the existence of those facilities, and some risk of it is sufficient given that the dissent is so low. Now, SMDA drop analytic, other countries solve. Saudi Arabia has other allies, which means set the DA at 0. US, China, other allies like the UK all solve their allies with Saudi Arabia, even if you don't think this is true in the abstract, the tuner are dropped in. So it must be taken as true, which means there are other nuclear powers involved in the buildings right now. Either way, no impact meaning war when I say nobody's helping Iran, neither Moscow and embracing offers support them. Russia to see Ukraine negotiate with Washington, intervention in the Middle East, which sometimes China's just actually never providing guarantees. That's good move. It's most recent, which takes out increasing oil as zero by oil price hitting high later, and zeros all the terms because only warfare extinction is drawn, not unilateral US nukes. Good bit. Good wrap.
Do you want the card doc?
Yeah, that'd be great. Great hangout.